It is Wednesday, November 9th, 7:47 p.m. Feeling like 8:47 p.m. Week 9 is in the books. The War Boys are officially the best team in the league. The Lance Refrigeration is the worst team in the league. And the Raptors are somewhere in between. So we're going to break it all down. So everyone just tune in, chill out, and let the good times roll.
Welcome into another episode of the DNZ Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Zach. I'm joined as always with my fellow LOC league mates Drake and Nick, here to bring you the latest news and notes in the world of fantasy football. For any first-time listeners out there, as I mentioned, we are the DNZ Fantasy Football Podcast. We mostly talk about our Dynasty Football League, the League of Compromise, but we like to mix things up a little bit. We kind of just go with the flow. But we do give our start-sit opinions of the week. We try and do some trade analyzers. We break down some trades that go on within the league, as well as some advice on, buy, sell, hold. So we really just kind of go, like I said, go with the flow, kind of write things as we go. We really appreciate it if you found our way to our channel. And really, this is week 10, so a lot of players starting to separate themselves from the pack. Playoffs are starting soon. The trade deadline is coming up. And what are your guys' opinions on the week?
I think Lance Refrigeration has a culture problem.
You motherfucker. But War Boys are the best team in the league, but I'm...
You know what? We always fight. The Lance Refrigeration is thrown in the towel. They've lost 3 straight games. I think
in the towel.
I think you're addicted to draft picks. You're trying to tank right now.
You're just jealous that I'm second. And you're second to last.
Not for long. Not on this pace.
My players have been fine. I've had the highest points in loss 3 weeks in a row. I'm not worried.
I like how you came up with that culture problem quote literally 5 seconds before we started recording, and it was the first thing you said.
It's all smoke. Don't believe the media, people.
Fake media is pretty relevant right now.
Right.
Fake news.
Nick is not helping here. But
Nick, you just climbed out of the gutter, the cellar, didn't you?
No, I am right where I need to be.
You should be.
To achieve everything that I've ever dreamed of.
I don't see the difference between second to last and last. You have both those first-round picks anyways.
I just know I shouldn't have been last, okay? I just know I shouldn't have been last.
What a bad trade.
We here at the War Boys, we don't tank. We're not Lance Refrigeration. We don't have a culture problem. We send these dogs out here, and we fight every single week. And they work hard in practice.
Whoa. I was just going to harp on how it's fantastic that you've got possibly the 101 and the 102 next year.
Yeah,
but fuck it. I don't even want to talk about it anymore.
We're right where we need to be.
Take off in 2023, huh?
Well, it was a pretty exciting week in football and in fantasy football.
Very.
Chiefs won a thriller in overtime. The Jets beat the Bills at home.
Love it.
In New York, New Jersey. Just a fun week for football.
Yeah, and Joe Mixon, he actually ended up breaking an LOC all-time player high score. Obviously, we're only in year 2 here. So not much history to go upon, but 55.1 points from Joe Mixon this week.
That's going to hold for a minute. So they were talking about the last fantasy performance like that was when J-Maul went off against the Raiders a long, long time ago.
Yeah, that was almost 10 years ago.
So
yep, I think
this record
that puts him damn near on the precipice of fantasy history.
Exactly. It was a historic performance. I think the number 2 there on LOC high all-time player high scores is Jonathan Taylor at 54 from last season. So, yeah, it was an insane week for Joe Mixon, and running backs are really coming back on after a slow start to the season. And there was a lot of shakeup in the standings for LOC. We'll talk about that when we get to our headlines as well. But we actually, all 3 of us attended that Chiefs Sunday night game against the Tennessee Titans. It was an interesting game. It was very slow in the beginning and basically in the middle. But towards the end, it finally got exciting. And I was starting to get colder than shit out there, and I really didn't want overtime. I was hoping we could win it in regulation with butt kicker.
Cash that in.
But, it was awesome to be in person for a Mahomes over my dead body type game.
Mm-hmm.
And, we should give the Tennessee Titans a little bit more credit than maybe they have been given. I mean, their defense is really good. We couldn't run the ball whatsoever.
It trips me out how at the end of the game, I didn't even realize this until we were listening to post-game shit, and they were like, Patrick Mahomes 500-something total yards. I'm sitting here like, when? Where?
Right.
Who got all those yards? I don't recall. Apparently it happened.
To use one of our recurring guests, the Galactic Empire, it was a rock fight. It was a rock fight. Like, those guys down there in the trenches were going to war every single play. We were sending a bunch of videos of Trey Smith going at it with, what was it, Simmons? Jeffrey Simmons?
Yeah, Jeffrey Simmons, I think, yep.
And he was the one who was talking shit on the Chiefs' offensive line earlier in the week. And so I think...
I saw Trey Smith. He was the one wearing the mic. Mm-hmm. So he's got a mic'd up coming out on the Chiefs YouTube soon. And I cannot wait to see that mic'd up, because there was like 3 or 4 times where he just completely pancaked Jeffrey Simmons, who is one of the best defensive linemen.
I want to see what they're going to leave on the cutting room floor for that.
Right.
Because
there's
there's not a lot of there is a lot of colorful language probably in that.
And the Chiefs needed that game with the Bills losing, so this helps
that's
us with
huge.
our AFC
that's
number
huge.
1 overall possibility. But let's get into the injury report here, try and focus on new injuries. So first one here is Josh Allen. He's day-to-day with an elbow injury. He did not practice on Wednesday, and if he's unable to play in Week 10, it's going to be Case Keenum who would get the start against the Vikings. So I think it would probably be smart that he sits, but this is not good for the Bills.
Case Keenum, Stephon Diggs, Minnesota Miracle, running back in Buffalo.
That's a wild headline there. Do you know what is crazy though? Like if they were to lose that game, that would not only knock them off the number 1 overall seed, it would knock them
it's a huge game.
It would put them in like 3rd place in their division, depending on how the Jets and the Dolphins do, because I think all of them are 3-loss teams as well. So you have all 3 of them, and the loss to the Jets is huge. And who's their other loss? It's
they lost to Miami, I'm pretty sure.
Did
Bills?
So they lost to Miami and I did look this up. Yeah, they lost to Miami and to the Jets. So that's not good in your division.
Have you guys seen there was some random Jets guy who made some type of video where he did a coin flip before the season started for every single game? And so far, he's perfect. So I saw it circulating last week before the Bills game.
Like 11-6.
Jets
were in the AFC Championship.
Is that what it was? I'm not positive what it was, but I know they were like, so he's been perfect, and now we've got the Bills, and he predicted the Bills to lose to the Jets based on his coin flip. But I don't know. It's kind of a fun story.
That is cool. That reminds me of like a bunch of those March Madness things that you see.
We need to get an update on that. We'll look into that, but. Moving on here, for Josh Allen, you still got to start Diggs even if he doesn't play, but, anybody else is probably not. I don't think you can start Gabe Davis.
Gabe Davis is borderline.
No way, because the only reason Gabe Davis is fantasy relevant is because of Josh Allen. It's Josh Allen's little monster he's got. But moving on, Aaron Jones has an ankle injury. Test actually did come back negative. Should be able to play this week, but something to monitor. Staying in Green Bay, Romeo Doubs, high ankle sprain, did not practice Wednesday, expected to miss some
Doubs
time.
Or Dobbs?
I think it's
announcers are saying
it's
Dobbs,
it's
but
technically
it's definitely going to stay Doubs.
Right.
Based on this podcast.
I like Doubs, but I think everyone announcers wise say Doubs.
I like Doubs. We're staying with Doubs.
Dobbs, yeah. But expect him to miss some time. Maybe opens up the door a little bit for Christian Watson and Allen Lazard. Matthew Stafford dealing with a concussion. He entered concussion protocol actually today here on Wednesday in the middle of the week. I think that's correct. He should be
usually how those things go.
Well, if he suffered the concussion on Sunday, why wouldn't he go into the concussion protocol on Monday? Or even that day on I don't know when how soon they can go into effect, but it's just a weird deal to see a concussion pop up in the middle of the week. But he should be highly questionable for Week 10. Only has 3 days to be cleared.
Wait.
John Wolford would be expected to start.
Who is that?
He popped up, I think I remember hearing his name last year, because I think Stafford did miss a game last year at least, but nothing to be super excited
I've never
about.
heard of him before.
And then another quarterback, Kyler Murray, a hamstring injury pops up. Misses practice on Wednesday and is considered day-to-day. Not a fan to see something like that as a Kyler Murray owner, especially since he's a running quarterback. You like to see him use his legs. So even if he does play, maybe that hinders his rushing ability. Dameon Pierce also popped up on the injury report, listed as limited on Wednesday with a chest/shoulder injury. Possible it was just a type of rest day, just giving him some time off with that huge workload he had there on Thursday night. Jonathan Taylor was spotted at practice on Wednesday, listed as a limited participant, but certainly is a fantastic sign to see him ready to go and possibly playing in Week 10. So hopefully that's the case. I need Jonathan Taylor in one of my fantasy leagues. My running back position is absolutely brutal. Need some JT in my life. Keenan Allen still not practicing, still considered day-to-day. Does not look good for his outlook in Week 10. But some good injury news. Treylon Burks he's back at practice after coming off IR with that turf toe injury. And we all watched that Sunday night game. The Titans have no one to throw to. They need Burks to be good. Mm-hmm. And he's going to get that opportunity. And I think if you're able to scoop him up, even in redraft leagues, I mean, certain dynasty leagues, he's not able to be scooped up. Maybe you could buy low. But redraft leagues, I would try and roster Treylon Burks. I've got him on 2 with these waivers that just went in here on Wednesday. I've got him in 2 leagues, so I'm hoping something happens. I think he's a good stash. And let's move on to the news. Just a few things in the news section, but the biggest news of the week/weekend was the Indianapolis Colts fired their head coach, Frank Reich, and hired Jeff Saturday to be the interim head coach. But it also looks like it could possibly be a permanent.
Yeah, this was a weird hire, and a lot of people in media were very confused by it. A lot of coaching staff and execs were really confused by it. I don't know what they were thinking because he wasn't even. Is he even a part of their staff, or he might have been like an analyst or something like that?
He's like a consultant or something along those lines. But he's currently has been working for ESPN as an analyst. And, I mean, completely out of left field, has no head coaching experience. And
I think this is a non-story, if you ask me. This is we don't have anything else to talk about. Frank Reich got fired. They're looking for more to say about it. I mean, who cares?
I think Frank Reich, Frank Reich could easily get another job as a head coach here in the NFL.
Most likely.
I mean, I think he might even be one of the top candidates for a lot. I think Irsay just wanted something to be changed because it's just not going well there in Indianapolis. Next piece of news, Odell cleared for play and is looking for a new team. It seems like the Cowboys and the Bills are really the front runners and the top names involved. I think I've seen Packers be swirled around there, but I don't really see that as possible. Who the hell would want to go play for the Packers right now? Probably nobody.
And it's cold up there. It's like you at least want to be on a good team if
right.
you're going to get a deal with that.
Even go to like the Chargers or something. I think the Chargers would be super interesting as well. But it doesn't seem like a move the Chargers would do.
Here's my biggest thing with OBJ and like where he could be signing. I don't know if everyone saw it. Was recently his 30th birthday, and he had his birthday party over the weekend. And he was there in LA. People like Chris Brown, Justin Bieber were all in town. I think that's just the kind of person that OBJ is. He wants to be able to do something on a Tuesday night after a short, easy practice and go out and be like, oh, look who I'm hanging out with.
You can do that in Dallas.
I think you can do it in Dallas. I think you can do it in LA,
New
York, Philadelphia. I don't think you can do it in places like Buffalo, like Green Bay, Kansas City. I know a lot of fans are thinking that. I think you saw how miserable even the second he got into Cleveland, even though they were decent for 1.5 years while he was there. But I just don't think that's his type of personality. I mean, maybe his agent can, in his inner circle, can whisper in his ear being like, yeah, but you can go win a Super Bowl again. You can kind of cement yourself as like a 2-time Super Bowl champ, things like this. But I think he's at the age where he's like, I just want to go somewhere where I can be like a famous superstar. And I think that's gonna like play into where he signs. I can see him going to Dallas, and I can see him staying with the Rams.
Right.
Or just in Los Angeles.
I like Dallas for OBJ, so we'll maybe have more news on that here the next few days, if not by this time next week. Next piece of news that I threw on here that it's about my player, so I kind of wanted to talk about it a little bit. There's a beat reporter
I don't
down there in
this.
Tampa
I don't
Bay.
believe this. Tell me about this.
He predicts Rachaad White could take over the Tampa Bay backfield
Next season?
sometime this season. You've
Next
already
season?
seen the
Define takeover.
You've already seen the regression in Leonard Fournette and his usage. Rachaad White is just right there neck and neck, if not completely 50-50 right now. And, I mean, he's a rookie, and this is about the time where rookie running backs really, after the bye week especially, is when they really start to catch on to things and really start to find their role. He's a pass-catching back. I mean, the problem is, for fantasy purposes, is just how abysmal the Tampa Bay offense is and how much of a disaster is actually going on there. And, like, they're not scoring a lot of points. There's not a lot of red zone targets going on. But this is something that I've been wanting, and just wanted to highlight. I need my boy Rachaad White to take over because big old Lenny, I don't think he's cutting it very well right now in Tampa.
To add to your point, I think this is kind of interesting to think about. Obviously, a lot of their games have been like throwing competitions in Tampa Bay.
Right, where Brady throws it 60 times.
Right, but in the last 3 weeks, he has rushed the ball 9 times again, and 8 times. He hasn't rushed over 25 times once this season.
And that's Leonard Fournette?
Yeah, Leonard Fournette. And he has 2 other rushes. He's only rushed the ball more than 20 times 3 times this year.
Yeah, his receiving game is what's keeping him relevant.
Right. And I mean, even last week he had 7 targets, but the week before 3, the week before that 3, and then there in the middle he was getting 6, 7, 11, 6. So I mean, I do think you're starting to see some of that regression there in the usage. Those last 3 weeks, 60%, 70%, 60%. So you could be right. Maybe they are starting to groom Rachaad into being more of a 50-50 back just to preserve the health of Fournette. But I do still seeing, like, when they announce the starters, I think Leonard's going to be that starter. It just, Rachaad might be more of a fantasy relevant flex spot moving forward.
Right, and you kind of saw that last year a little bit with Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones, where Ronald Jones was seeing a lot of first down, even second down work, and then Leonard Fournette would kind of come in, and I think Ronald Jones ended up getting COVID or something, and then Leonard Fournette really took a hold of that backfield all by himself, and then obviously was fantastic in the playoffs. And just down the stretch at the end of the season. So maybe it's something similar, and they're waiting for Leonard, just giving him some time to break out. But I thought that was interesting just to see that Rachaad White could possibly take over that backfield. And then I didn't list it here, but a similar report was reported for Jaylen Warren, the rookie running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's the RB2 there behind Najee Harris. And, I mean, Najee Harris is pretty famed for how shitty he's been this season. And he's just been not good. I'm not sure. He's probably got over 10 points, like one or he's
not good.
He's averaging under 10 points a week, and Jaylen Warren seems like he's got a little bit more juice. And Mike Tomlin was saying that he's gonna get some more touches and a little bit more run in this offense. So a lot of backfields being shaken up here, and even Raheem Mostert, I'd be worried about how they used Jeff Wilson this week. Jeff Wilson was a motherfucking man this week. So a lot of backfields being shooken up right now. So definitely keep an eye on. Maybe try and sell Leonard Fournette if you can, or even Najee Harris. I definitely need to try to get rid of Najee Harris.
Try to get Najee Harris for a pretty good trade, and I gotta know.
Was that with me?
No.
Was it?
No.
In LOC?
Yeah. Do you have Najee in LOC?
Not anymore. I traded him to Nate.
Oh, yeah. It was with Nate. I tried trading with Nate.
Oh, gotcha.
No.
He doesn't want to trade away Najee?
Mm-mm.
Well, fair enough. I mean, it is Dynasty. I mean, he showed the talent.
Do you think he just has the yips?
I don't know. I think the O-line's terrible. I think he's maybe still not 100%. And, I mean, who knows? I would try and cash out of Najee.
What was it, like 2 weeks ago in that third down play where they hit him on the swing route?
He needed like 2 yards.
Yeah, and like he clearly could have just lowered his shoulder one-on-one and got it, but he tried to like juke him out behind the line of scrimmage and allowed like a linebacker and the safety to crash down, and he just got blown up.
Right.
I think he just has the yips, which, I mean, that's either something you can get over or you can't, which can really diminish your value, but you hope it is like just something kind of like that where he just needs like a confidence boost. Like you said, their offensive line isn't the greatest, which is weird considering like that's why he was able to be so successful last year's because of that offensive line. So just want to know where that regression is. But
yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Jalen Warren does here the next few weeks. Definitely someone worth stashing along with Jeff Wilson and Rashad White. But that's the rest of the news section. You guys have anything else to add before we get into Nick's fastest 2 minutes?
This is some great, good shit right here.
Okay. Alrighty. Are we ready to rock and roll here, Nick?
Go, Nick?
You ready to go?
Okay. Our first matchup was the ugliest duel to take place since the first season of Westworld. In a battle of the worst, it was Angry Josh and the War Boys securing victory over Team RDC 22. Kenyon Drake Watkins added 24 points, and a brawl ensued post-game, with both teams claiming they'll see each other again in the consolation bracket. War Boys 118, Team RDC 22, 77.
What?
Moving on, we have panic mode setting in for Lance Refrigeration as they fall for the third straight week. The Arrowhead Choppers demand respect as Devontae Adams and Eve explodes, and Just In Fields is just offing the competition as of late. The margin was 3 points, which has to make the third straight loss sting that much more. Arrowhead Choppers 178, Lance Refrigeration 175. Our next showdown featured the London Bridge surging to the top of the polls like a brain-dead Democrat. JT and company were the victims of a balanced assault propelled by confirmed alien overlord Patrick Mahomes. Cooper, I'm a Little Teacup, and Tyreek Slope tried to rally the troops, but there simply wasn't enough ammo in the can. London Bridge 177, JT and company 148. Moving on to our penultimate matchup, we saw the Jamario Bros remain the hottest team in the league, sizzling out the Ramondre Raptors and picking up a fourth consecutive win. The Raptors put up a modest fight but could not keep up with large man Derrick Henry or Kenneth Sprinter Walker. Jamario Bros 154, Ramondre Raptors 138. Rounding it all off, our final tilt featured the Galactic Empire opening up a can of Death Star on the Sunshine Squad. Chase Claypool looked more like a clay pond, but honestly, the Sunshine Squad was always going to need more after Joe Mixon went Bill Clinton tapping that Panther ass for 55 points. The Empire leads the week in scoring. Galactic Empire 190, Sunshine Squad 123.
what?
You guys need to go to like WAP boot camp or something. You guys need to fill me in a little bit more. We'll bring in the Galactic Empire to give you guys some lessons.
I didn't want to whop myself again.
There was no whopping to be had for you, bro. You lost.
See,
For the third straight week. Culture problem.
I just had a terrible Monday night
Who's calling
football
the plays?
experience, and I just needed a couple things to happen, and I ended up getting fucked on Monday night in 2 different leagues where I lost by 1 point and then 3 points in here at LOC. Worst Monday night of the season for me, but a lot of shakeup in the standings. And wanted to maybe try to get into some LOC headlines here. We've got another trade to talk about. We had a trade go down before the week even started, and it was a trade between Team RDC 22, who sends Lamar Jackson to the Arrowhead Choppers for Dameon Pierce, Sam Ehlinger, a 23 first-round pick, which was actually my first-round pick, which you're looking at it possibly towards the end of the rookie draft, and then along with a 24 second-round pick as well. But this is a pretty blockbuster trade. I mean, anytime in a Superflex league, a guy like Lamar Jackson is getting dealt, it's going to have a lot of eyes on it and a lot of reaction from the rest of the league.
Yeah, RDC 22 is tanking.
And I pushed this trade through and ended up playing against Lamar Jackson, and his 1 touchdown throw to Isaiah Likely was what ruined my chance at winning. So, but Lamar Jackson, I mean, is certainly a fantastic guy you can acquire. And I don't know, how do you guys feel about this trade? Dameon Pierce, obviously a 3rd-round rookie running back, but he's looking fantastic right now. He does get a first-round pick involved there. I mean, the 24 second-round pick, I mean, who the fuck even cares? I would maybe rather get a 23 second. But Sam Ehlinger, I mean, he's probably completely worthless. I mean, I would have given up exactly what Nate did for Lamar Jackson if I had the same scenario, same circumstances. So I lean towards Arrowhead Choppa's side of this trade. What are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I think so. I think I mean, well, never mind. I like Dameon Pierce a lot. I like Dameon Pierce a lot. I think quarterback's going to be a little bit easier to fill, especially just as the years go by, and the next year is very quarterback rich. So RDC 22 is not competing for anything this year. They are tanking. The War Boys will never tank. So I'm going to go ahead and flip that. I like RDC 22 picking up Dameon Pierce.
What scares me the most is Arrowhead Choppa has just added Lamar Jackson to Justin Fields. And obviously, dude's been bonkers that past few weeks. So dynasty-wise, going into next season, having two quarterbacks that have rushing upside in an offense that's just built around them is just fantastic for your dynasty superflex team.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I almost think it begs the question, if Chicago bailed out on Matt Nagy too soon. Because I think, obviously, with Mitchell Trubisky, he overperformed those first couple of years. Because I think Mitch is just a horrible quarterback. And then there were just a bunch of horrendous draft picks. They were never able to supplement anything around him. And then the same with last year. I mean, you had no one at quarterback there for him. And then no one around the quarterback. And then this year, I mean, you're seeing they're finally leaning in. Maybe we need to start treating Justin Fields like Lamar Jackson, RPOs, short dinks and dunks, and then, start waiting for them to play 7-8 men in the box, and then you let them drop back 5 steps and just rear it downfield. And so I think Matt Nagy is a good offensive mind. He's obviously meshing well with Patrick Mahomes. He's a good coach or a good players coach and meshes well with his players. I just think they might have, imagine if they had his offensive mind from the tree of Andy Reid still there with Justin Fields.
Right. It's fantastic to see them kind of mold it around Justin Fields and instead of trying to make Justin Fields mold to their offense. And I mean, they added a guy like Claypool, so they obviously believe in what Justin Fields is doing. They're trying to give him some ammo finally, other than just a used bent knife. But
they still don't have a fucking sharp knife. He's still using the same fucking knife. That's what's making this scary.
What pains me about this is Justin Fields is exactly what I thought.
Do you know how many people get shot in Chicago every weekend, and this man's has had the same knife for 4 years?
He's
only been
upgraded,
there
bro.
For 2 years, but I mean, it was an old knife.
He
left there from the last guy.
He got rid of the knife, and he just uses his speed.
No, he's still got the fucking knife on him, though.
But Justin Fields is exactly what I was hoping and thinking that Trey Lance would be. So obviously, Trey Lance, I still have hope for him, but seeing Justin Fields do and what he does
Where
just
on the doll did Trey
sucks.
Lance touch you?
Everywhere.
Oh shit! Okay, we got resources for that. Let's move on.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, I think this is a really good trade. We started talking about Justin Fields when we were talking about Lamar Jackson. Great trade. Arrowhead Choppas is just reloading. Actually, they're just adding a scope to the fucking big-ass sniper rifle that they have. So, really good for this team. And RDC, a team that is obviously trying to rebuild. He traded away his first-round pick before the season started. He was able to jump back into the first round.
Yeah, he needed another. He needed another pick.
So he's able to get a quarterback and a running back. We'll see how Sam Ehlinger plays out there in Indianapolis.
He's got 2 first-round picks now because he traded DeAndre Hopkins to JT and Companies for a first and a second.
Oh, did he? Okay.
After trading away his first for A.J. Dillon, having no first-round picks, and obviously that experiment didn't work out very well. Now RDC is able to jump back in with 2 first-round picks, so do like to see that.
Those would be 2 pretty decent mid-round picks, too.
Right, and especially in a loaded 23 class with a lot of quarterbacks.
There's going to be extra dudes to be had because of all the quarterbacks.
And being a super flex.
No quarterbacks. Some people were out here trying to draft a quarterback last year. So there was
God forbid
excess of dudes to be taken. There's going to be straight fire dudes that don't even get drafted next year because of how many good quarterbacks are coming in.
Yeah, and we kind of want to talk about trades and stuff a little bit more towards the end of the pod. We can kind of fly through the rest of these notes here if we want to, because outside of the trade, that was probably the biggest news of the week, I would say. But just as far as
the War Boys are no longer in last place.
Yeah, I think
we don't have a culture problem. We're not Lance Refrigeration. We're not all fancy. We don't
the-
have the fucking new car every single day, you know, always on the fucking swag. That ain't us. That's not what we're about, okay? We grind. We come to work every single fucking day, and we will be the dominant force in this league.
All right,
War Boys 2023, right?
You enjoy
2023 through 2029.
you enjoy riding to work in your 1994 Toyota Corolla.
I don't know what a 1994 Toyota Corolla is. I've never driven one of those, but Lance
sedan.
Refrigeration out here thinking
That's what your
fancy.
team's driving. That's what your team's driving.
That's what she got, bro.
No, we got a Ford Bronco, one of the originals.
Damn.
That's like parked in a field somewhere, rusting.
Is it
No.
refurbished
Can't start?
yet?
No. We're in the shop right now.
All right, so yeah, War Boys
We're being
2023 and
restored.
beyond. And I think the biggest other headline, we had a few here, but let's just,
Lance Refrigeration has a culture problem. I don't see that on the list.
maybe I should have added, but there was a lot of shakeup in the standings and some big movement for the Galactic Empire. Jared has jumped up 2 spots in the standings all the way up to number 4. Big movement. Sunshine Squad and JT and Company fall down 1 spot. So, I mean, these next few weeks, I mean, we're going to see a lot of shaking up. And it'll be interesting to see who's on bye this week. I know Jamario Bros is pretty demoralized with his bye weeks this week with the Bengals on bye. So, Galactic Empire moving up those standings. But anything else you guys want to talk about LOC headlines? That's really all I care to talk about.
Yeah, that was pretty much the biggest thing.
I mean, the LOC, the Lance Refrigeration culture issue, that would be our tabloid
And
headline that we'd be talking about all week. We'd be fucking running
Yeah.
segments on it.
Yeah, Drake, I would hate it if I scored almost 180 points and lost 2.
oh
It's a
no,
culture problem.
Yep.
I was the most efficient manager. At
Good
I
teams
lit-
win close games.
Sleeper gave me 100% on my efficiency. I mean, it was just a
And
brutal,
it just
brutal
wasn't
week.
Enough.
Just wasn't enough.
Sounds like a fire
I was
head coach.
I was looking at
situation.
5-1 in my 6 leagues for a second straight week, and I ended 3-3 after that Monday night game.
Do you know what that reminds me of? You going 100% in efficiency and still losing. It reminds me of that 2018 or 2017 Chiefs-Rams game where Mahomes and the Chiefs just go up and score, 60 points?
Right. It was
or 58
bonkers.
points, and they still lose. Obviously, Mahomes had a couple of mistakes there. So
That is
it's not
kinda
like
how
a
I feel.
100
I
But
like that.
you put up damn near 180 points, and
Yeah, I feel good, and I still like my rest of season outlook, and we'll just have to try and
Right.
bounce back here in week 10.
sometimes shit, like we said, we just there's no way to counteract what another team does, like in real football. So
And I can make up for a 3-game losing streak after starting 6-0. So we'll hopefully bounce back
Not
here
if
this
you have
week.
a culture problem.
But let's maybe jump into Nick's picks of the week here for week 10 before we get into a little buy, sell, hold. Nick, do you have your picks ready here for week 10? And what we did update
Yeah,
the
real
people
quick,
on your
we
standings
did-
here as well.
We were victorious again last week. We went 3-2, moves me to 26-19. War Boys did defeat RDC 22. Lance Refrigeration did not defeat the Arrowhead Choppers. We've already discussed their
Sorry, bud.
culture problems. There seems to be some weird shit going on in the background there. London Bridge over JT and Company, nailed that. Jamario Bros over the Raptors, I nailed that. And then I picked the Sunshine Squad over the Empire, and then Joe Mixon happened. So 3-2 overall. This week, War Boys will defeat the Ramondre Raptors. It probably won't be close. Lance Refrigeration probably bounces back.
Did you hear that, Zach?
over the Sunshine Squad.
Hold on, that is fun. We've got Zach versus Nick here this week.
I'm not worried.
And you're expecting a blowout, Nick?
I mean, yes.
He already admitted his team's in the shop.
You
so-
might have no Josh Allen this week, bud.
No, we're gonna have Josh Allen. Okay.
Is that
Brees
facts?
Hall's gonna come back. I heard it.
Dude.
I saw it on Twitter.
Brees Hall. Every time I hear his name, I just get sad.
Like Trey Lance.
Yes, and Devontae.
The doll touched me in a couple places with Brees Hall this year, so
Same.
that's another thing. We won't go into that.
Yeah, continue.
Lance
Sorry.
Refrigeration over Sunshine Squad. I think they bounce back. JT and Company over RDC 22. RDC 22 is tanking. Galactic Empire. This is game of the week. Galactic Empire over Jamario Bros. Galactic Empire is peaking.
Game of the week.
He will be missing Joe Mixon, but Jamar wasn't going to play anyway. He'll be missing Joe Burrow on that end. But the Galactic Empire is going to have too much. That's a battle of the streaks. That's actually a 3-win streak and a 4-win streak going right now. And it's I'm going to call it the something's got to give game. This is the something's got to give game.
Yeah, that is a fire game of the week.
I'm going to give
I like
it
it.
to Galactic Empire. And then rounding it off, London Bridge will defeat the Arrowhead Choppas. London Bridge is looking scary.
Yeah, whatever.
Choppas is still trash.
Cool. Did you get through everybody?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you picked me to bounce back, 'cause I really fucking need it. But let's maybe jump into some buy, sell, hold. We all kind of came up with a few buys, a few sells, and some holds. I think Nick might just sit here and kind of react and tell us how stupid we are as we go through it. But
well, let it be known, I was trying to participate in this seg, and I kept been talking about my takes weren't good enough.
Okay,
so.
well, here, give us your first take. Who are you buying?
No, we don't.
Homeboy said Tyreek Hill. No shit.
Homeboy said Jalen Waddle, and you'd be talking about.
Yeah, and then
Well,
I changed it.
Hold on.
Sell Tyreek Hill, and I'm like, well, fucking A, who's gonna sell Jalen Waddle?
Zach's been
Fucking
trying
nobody.
to sell Jalen
Well,
Waddle.
Nick,
No,
no,
he's
this is actually a really good point. Nick has 2 first-round. He has right now the first and second overall picks in the 2023 draft.
Unreal.
Do you think you'd be able to package those draft picks together? Like, would you be willing to package those draft picks together to
No.
go get Tyreek Hill?
No.
Okay, then why is he the person that you would buy for your team?
Yeah, who would you actually want to go out there and buy?
Tyreek Hill.
Okay. First,
So you're not
the
making
101 and the 102. You'd get
Yeah,
Tyreek
yeah,
Hill all
yeah.
day, probably. Especially, I don't know, Jacob would want to get rid of Tyreek Hill.
But that
But I
would
mean,
be what I would offer, and we don't need to go into calculating what that offer would be because Tyreek Hill is not going to be for sale, which was my original point, which is like Jalen Waddle
Right.
is not for sale.
Well,
I have Jalen Waddle on the trade wire. I've been entertaining trades all week.
that was the part of the reason that I thought to put him
Why?
on there, because I would love to try and trade for Jalen Waddle from you, Zach.
What do you mean, why?
But I probably don't
It's
really
a
have
young stud
what you would
wide
want.
receiver.
And I have another young stud wide receiver. And I have another young stud wide receiver.
No, he's
and
got
I have
all of them.
another
You're gonna-
young stud wide
You're
receiver.
going to make a lateral move, if anything, in this. You're going to give away a guy that you already know is a guy to get a draft pick so you can potentially draft a guy.
Well, hopefully you
When
would get
this
more
guy
than
you already
one draft
have
pick.
is like 23 years old. So
We
might
know
get
the-
two
the-
guys.
the point
we
is-
know how this works.
The point
We know
is,
how this
I'm
works.
trading a position of strength on my team to hopefully draft for a position of weakness on my team.
You would be able to
That's
get
how
more
that
than one
works.
pick.
That's how trades work. Yes.
That's
Why
insane.
did you want to trade Stephon Diggs?
Because now I have the first 2 fucking picks in the draft.
But
Exactly.
why originally, like, why did you so badly want Brees Hall when you had Stephon Diggs?
So the rest
And
of my
Josh
team is
Allen.
not looking too fucking sexy.
Right, and Zach's struggling with running back, so putting Jalen Waddle on the trade block certainly makes sense.
When I
but
have
let's-
Garrett Wilson,
This
George
is why I
Pickens,
didn't
Justin
participate
Jefferson.
in this segment, all right?
Well, I think I've got a good buy here. Whether it's redraft, whether it's dynasty, I think it works perfect. And it's maybe a guy that is actually acquirable. I've got Garrett Wilson here as my buy. He's been the focal point of the Jets offense since the Brees Hall injury. He's been a top 16 wide receiver the past 2 weeks with right around 17 points for each of the past 2 weeks. And Garrett Wilson looks fantastic. The offense runs through him. And, I mean, I'm not worried about Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson's going to get Garrett Wilson the ball. And I think Garrett Wilson is a fine wide receiver 2 on a roster for the rest of the season. And you're going to try and fight to get him in your starting lineup if you can. And if you're one wide receiver away, I think Garrett Wilson's a good guy to go after. So I got Garrett Wilson there as my buy. Zach, do you have a buy here as well?
I do, and this is for my team specific. I would say moving forward, a biggest position of need would be a quarterback. I have right now Justin Herbert, and even he's been kind of struggling to be a QB1 as of late with all of his guys out. So quarterback's something I would desperately be needing. And I think someone that I would be able to get without having to trade like multiple first round picks and like multiple players for is someone along the lines of like Dak Prescott. He's still 29 years old. He's south of age 30. Every season he's been 100% healthy. He has been a top 10 fantasy quarterback. he has his legs, he has his arm, he has weapons. I think he'd be a good player that I can trade for, either with a player in a second or third round pick, or a first round pick and a lesser known player, or not necessarily a top tier player. He's someone that I would look to add onto my team for like a second round pick and someone along the lines of like Garrett Wilson or George Pickens.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I was kind of one quarterback away. I mean, Geno Smith has been holding it down for me, so I haven't been too worried about trying to trade for a guy like Dak. But Dak was certainly a guy that comes to my mind if you're trying to acquire a quarterback. So I really do like Dak. They've got weapons around him, and I think they'll only continue to add to it, especially next year in the draft.
He was someone I was looking to try and trade for back when he was on IR and trying to help.
Right, that's a good buy low window.
Mm-hmm. And so that was my biggest thing. And I mean, especially if they have their eyes on OBJ, as we mentioned earlier in the podcast, I mean, pairing him up with CeeDee Lamb, be a decent looking offensive there.
I like it. Well, let's get into the sells here that we've got. I've got Joe Mixon here as my sell. I think you need to do it right here, right now, this week,
and
today.
I disagree massively.
Well, it does depend on your team makeup.
Do you still love
and whether
Dalvin Cook? Like, if you love Dalvin Cook, how can you say you hate Joe Mixon? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I like Dalvin Cook, and I mean, I don't disagree with what you're trying to say. I mean, Dalvin Cook's only a year older than Mixon. There's not too much of a difference, but just how inefficient Mixon has been. And if you're not winning now,
he's a late bloomer. Mixon's a late bloomer. I have a lot of experience as a Joe Mixon owner throughout the years.
If I traded Joe Mixon away in a dynasty league for a first round pick earlier this season, just a few weeks ago, and I'm not in a position to win now, and I wanted picks for next year. I've got 2 first round picks now. I had Breece Hall, Javonte Williams, Trey Lance all go down to injury, so it kind of ruined my season. And I was wanting to get rid of Joe Mixon, and I still would want to get rid of Joe Mixon. And now I think you could get more than just a first-round pick.
Oh, yeah.
I think you could even trade Joe Mixon for DeAndre Swift plus right now, if not a first-round pick plus. That would be a guy I would want to be selling if he was on one of my dynasty teams. Redraft, maybe a bit of a different story, but if I had Joe Mixon in dynasty, I would want to trade away unless I was a win now and didn't have the best running back depth.
I think that's a good answer. I guess for me, I'm going to go, kind of to the opposite. I'm going to go with any one of my wide receivers. As I've this week, I put Justin Jefferson. I put on the trade block. I put Jalen Waddle on the trade block, and I just want to know what I'm able, what the market's looking like. And
because you've got Garrett Wilson, you've got Deontay Johnson, not Deontay Johnson. You've got George Pickens, and Treylon Burks. Your wide receiver haul, the 23 class, plus Jalen Waddle and Justin Jefferson. Obviously, you should be able to move one of those guys for picks. And it is interesting that you are kind of fielding offers for essentially your top 2 wide receivers, Justin Jefferson and Jalen Waddle. And
I guess someone that we don't really talk a whole lot about, just because he's got arguably one of the best wide receivers alongside him. Is I also have Devontae Smith. And obviously his repertoire hasn't increased with Jalen Hurts as much as A.J. Brown's has. So, I was really hoping that he would kind of be like a Jalen Waddle and kind of develop into, oh shit, A.J. Brown's covered up, let me hit Devontae. And it just hasn't worked out that way as of yet. He's still very much a boomer bust type of player. But, that's just the whole thing. I'm at this point, where I am in the draft, I'm going to get a top 2, top 3 draft pick, and I just want to see if I'm able to get
another first round.
Yeah, exactly, another first round pick this year, and possibly a first round pick next year.
I'd give it to you for Garrett Wilson if I could, but I don't have a 23 first. Anymore.
Right, and so I would just say any one of my wide receivers is kind of up for grabs, just because
how plentiful you're at that position.
Right. And I guess even to another extent, I would even say someone like Javonte Williams might be up for grabs as well, just because I don't trust their head coach.
I don't hate that.
It's someone I would end up selling low on and probably be able to get a second round pick maybe for a second round pick and another player perhaps, but
right. I think it would take a first round pick for me to get rid of Javonte Williams plus some.
But
on
coming
top
off a
of
knee
it-
surgery and someone you're not going to be able to play right now, like if you're in win now, you're not trading for Javonte Williams. You're win later.
No,
That's someone you try and trade to like RDC.
absolutely. Maybe
Especially
Javonte for Dak Prescott straight up or something. Maybe
That's not a bad trade.
a second round pick involved there with Dak or something.
Mhm.
Maybe. I mean, there's still a lot of hype with Javonte, but yeah, that knee injury, he's not gonna be like really good the first few
No,
weeks.
and
next
as long
year.
as
it's gonna
as
take
long
him
as
some
fucking
time.
Hackett's there,
And he tore like everything in his knee.
Mhm.
It's not as bad as the Brees Hall knee injury.
but yeah, I would say that's someone I would trade for. And we were kind of talking about this, and I think it's kind of interesting to like just keep kind of going into is just looking at what some of these first round draft pick skilled position players are going to be. These are going to be guys that we're looking at
Like mock drafts for next season.
Yeah, these
next
are guys,
NFL draft.
These are guys that we're going to be looking at as first round draft picks. And I mean, people like Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson, the guy from Kentucky,
Will Levis.
Bijan Robinson, the wide receiver Quentin Johnson from TCU, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Like, there's a lot of
Jordan Addison.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good wide receivers. There's a lot of really good quarterbacks. There's a lot of really good running backs. And so,
Josh Allen has been ruled out.
You're kidding. Breaking news.
breaking news.
Did that pop up? Let's confirm. Where did you see it?
Ballsack Sports on Twitter.
You're
Oh
lying.
my God.
I thought we had breaking news.
It is Ballsack Sports.
I do
on
expect
Twitter
him to miss, probably, though.
has reported that he will miss the game.
Okay. Confirmed.
Confirmed
Not
from
breaking news.
Ballsack News.
Ballsack News on Twitter.
Jesus. Why did you even
Good
say that?
fucking night.
Okay. Well, I've got a hold here. Do you guys want to talk about holds real quick?
Yeah.
So I am an owner, so I'm a little biased maybe, but Amon-Ra St. Brown is a guy I just want to hold on. He was really good for the first few games, had that ankle injury he dealt with, and the Lions have been pretty up and down. They're really only good at home, it seems like. But Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think good times are ahead, and don't panic. He's someone that I'm trying to trade for in redraft leagues. Certainly Dynasty, I mean, you're probably not wanting to get rid of Amon-Ra. I'm certainly am not. But Amon-Ra, I've got him here as my hold.
I like Amon-Ra a lot. I think he is going to be a bona fide stud. I don't think, Jameson Williams, he's still hurt, right?
Right.
So we
He
don't-
is
we don't know
still
what that impact
out and
could
on IR.
potentially look like, but I like Amon-Ra a lot.
Yeah,
That's-
no Hawkinson there anymore.
That was actually, so you bring up Jameson Williams, and he was going to be my hold. He was also someone that I was like going to put as a buy just because he's might be available there down the stretch in like your championship game, your playoff games.
It sucks that we haven't seen him yet.
Mm-hmm. But I think even if you're not necessarily like, it's not a win now move, I guess, per se, but you think about it in the future, Detroit, they're drafting a quarterback. They're not keeping Jared Goff. So
I hope so. Whoever they draft at quarterback, I'm going to be excited.
pairing
for.
him with C.J. Stroud, pairing him with Bryce Young,
Will Levis.
any one of these guys.
I could get on board with, yeah, exactly.
I mean, shit, you can pair him with Anthony Richardson. I mean,
I just would be worried Richardson doesn't come out for the draft.
You think he might stay another year?
I think it's possible. I can't wait to dive into that once the season's over, though. I love talking about the incoming class in the offseason. So super fun. We need to maybe do a little bit more homework on
Where's the combine?
It's got to be in Indianapolis
Is it
still.
in
I think so.
Yeah, it's always in Indy.
I think
Do you
they're
think we
sticking
can
with that.
Do you think we can get press passes?
Dude,
for that?
we ought to try.
Why not?
Just sit up there and watch
It'd be legit.
watch them run 40 times, shuttle drill. That'd be fun. That'd be fun as shit. No doubt. Do you have a hold here, Zach?
My hold was Jameson Williams.
Jameson Williams. Perfect.
Yeah.
Cool beans.
Yeah, I just think he's too good and too athletic. Obviously, the knee injury is kind of scary, but there's a reason he was drafted as high as he was. I mean, he was a first-round pick, so I wouldn't want to get rid of him just because someone's floating a first-round or a second-round pick in front of you saying, hey, I want this guy on my team, especially as we get closer to the playoffs and like more news comes about when he's ready to be activated.
That would be interesting if you were like, I mean, whether you're win now or building for the future.
Mm-hmm.
If you were offered a 23 first-round pick for Jameson Williams, that is interesting.
Yeah.
That would take some consideration from me.
But yeah, I think and I guess for us, our trade deadline's next week, isn't it?
Yep, we've got the trade deadline at week 11. So I think once this games start,
we're done.
Trade deadline's over with. So time to make a win now move. Zach, don't trade Jalen Waddle to London Bridge, and we'll be just fine.
I don't even think that London Bridge has offered me. No, he did. He gave me a first-round pick in Pacheco.
Yeah, close, but not
no
quite.
Cigar. But I think that will conclude this episode of the DNZ Fantasy Football Podcast. Thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all for hanging out. We really appreciate it. As mentioned on our past few podcasts, we are on YouTube, but we are also now on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So be sure you drop in there as well. Give us a like, subscribe, follow, whatever. We really appreciate it. Help grow the channel. Thank you all so much, and we'll catch you next time on the DNZ Fantasy Football Podcast.